A new Star Wars movie will fix the biggest issue with Obi-Wan Kenobi. There are many upcoming Star Wars movies in development, signaling the franchise's switch back to cinematic dominance. Since 2019 and the release of The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars TV shows have been Lucasfilm's focus. The Mandalorian and Grogu's story would not have been possible without 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. The same can be said for 2026 Ahsoka Season 2, with its predecessor being a spin-off of The Mandalorian Season 2. However, some TV shows developed because of Lucasfilm's small-screen focus have made mistakes, such as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, thanks to one of the films being developed in the Star Wars franchise, perhaps the biggest mistake Obi-Wan Kenobi made is being rectified. The Mandalorian and Grogu will move Star Wars back to theaters. Disney. The aforementioned Mandalorian and Grogu movie is taking Star Wars back to theaters. The Mandalorian proved so popular that Lucasfilm deemed it worthy of being the basis of the first Star Wars movie in 6 years, almost 7 years by the time the film releases in May 2026. Aside from the theatrical release of 4 Clone Wars episodes combined in 2008, The Mandalorian and Grogu will be the first Star Wars movie based on a TV series. This proves just how important TV shows have become to Lucasfilm recently, so much so that the company is choosing to take that to the big screen. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show should have been a movie. Concerning how this links to other Star Wars shows, though, The Mandalorian and Grogu is fixing one of Obi-Wan Kenobi's biggest mistakes. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series was disappointing to many, who found several episodes to be filler, included only to broaden the story beyond the rematch of the titular Jedi and Darth Vader. This makes even more sense when knowing that Obi-Wan Kenobi was originally developed as a movie. However, Lucasfilm's TV success in the 2020s saw Obi-Wan Kenobi change to a Disney Plus show, which actually caused its biggest problems. The narrative and pacing simply were not strong enough for a season of TV, and a few episodes could have been removed to make a great 2-hour movie. With The Mandalorian and Grogu, Lucasfilm is reversing this mistake. Whatever story Jon Favreau came up with for the movie, it was clearly deemed to fit better as a theatrical release than as The Mandalorian Season 4. This is the main mistake Lucasfilm made with Obi-Wan Kenobi. That story undoubtedly would have been better served as a movie, but the success of other shows saw Lucasfilm stretch it out into a 6-episode show. The Mandalorian and Grogu is, thankfully, fixing that mistake by doubling down on the fact that Obi-Wan Kenobi should have been a movie after all. Live-action Star Wars shows have been a mixed bag. This raises the wider issue that Star Wars live-action shows have been a mixed bag. The first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian are excellent, and Andor is some of the best Star Wars storytelling ever. Skeleton Crew and Ahsoka were both enjoyable, even if the latter was somewhat underwhelming. Then there are the weaker Star Wars live-action shows, including The Mandalorian Season 3 and Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Acolyte was also highly controversial, splitting the opinions of the fanbase. Finally, there was The Book of Boba Fett, another move-a-turn show that would have been much better off being left for the big screen. With this in mind, Star Wars' return to the big screen is coming at the right time. Focusing on just one medium or the other, TV or film, for a stretch of time, saw Lucasfilm's output become mixed. It is certainly healthier to have some teams working on movies and others working on TV, so that there is freedom for creators to come into the franchise and pick which best suits their potential story. If this had been the case, Star Wars TV shows may have been less of a mixed bag. Obi-Wan Kenobi and The Book of Boba Fett could have been movies, and more TV budget could have been left over for the enjoyable, episodic shows, like Skeleton Crew, to have a second season already, for instance. As it was, though, the live-action shows fluctuated in quality. Star Wars television should focus on animation over live-action. Going forward, now that Lucasfilm has rectified Obi-Wan Kenobi's biggest mistake with The Mandalorian and Grogu, Star Wars TV should focus on animated shows. This is not to say that live-action shows should not be produced at all, but Star Wars animation has often been overlooked. 2 of the best Star Wars stories ever are animated shows, Star Wars, The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Despite their quality, the popularity of these shows was never on the same level as The Mandalorian or Obi-Wan Kenobi. With more Star Wars movies being placed in development, though, live-action shows are seemingly becoming less common. Only Ahsoka remains as a live-action show still in development, and even that show's future is unclear after Ahsoka Season 2. In animation, Maul, Shadow Lord is being released, as is Star Wars, Vision's Presence, The Ninth Jedi. The absence of live-action shows, at least for now, could allow Lucasfilm to focus more on its animated efforts.